My name is Holly, and Operation Valentine's Day started in 2012. Operation Valentine's Day kind of happened to me. Some very sweet friends of mine who are mentors and just very loving women in my life sent me the most beautiful care package in the mail, and it arrived on Valentine's Day, and it was this brown paper box, and I opened it up and it was filled with pink heart measuring cups and little sprinkles and all of these things that I loved, and sweet notes from each of these women. They just wrote to me, and it took my breath away. I had just been through a really painful breakup, and unexpectedly these women just came alongside me and loved me so well. They swept me off my feet in a sense, and I just looked up and remembered how much I was loved by God, and their love was so tangible and present, and it just like planted this little seed in my heart, and it just kept growing. And a few months later, I ran into another woman who went through a really similar breakup, and we were just talking about this, and I remember that little box, and Valentine's Day rolled around, and I'm like, okay, instead of being sad or eating a lot of chocolate and watching chick flicks and just feeling not seen and not loved, let's remember that we're loved, and let's go tell as many people as we can. So we just went out and got hundreds of pink heart post-it notes and daisies and candy, and wrote out as many pieces of truth as we could. And we just stuck these heart post-it notes everywhere. And it was so amazing. We had so much fun doing it. And then we went around to like cafes, and we looked for people sitting by themselves, and we gave them a flower and a note and told them that they were loved.
I first became involved in Operation Valentine's in 2012. At the time, there was a few of us young women meeting together, and we just had this heart to tell people that they're loved. And I think that was part of our own journey of believing we're loved.
Valentine's Day can be a really, really lonely day for a lot of people. People are surrounded by all these flashy, bright colors and romance and gifts and chocolates, and for a lot of people, it's just kind of a dagger in the heart to remind them, you're alone, or your relationship is broken right now, or just reminding people of the loss of a loved one. And people are in a really vulnerable place. It kind of brings up all the hurt feelings, and so I love being a part of this because it's a chance to go out and remind people that they're worthy of love, even in the midst of broken circumstances, that they are loved.
I was living in Thailand about 5 years ago and working with a local nonprofit out there that does a lot of anti-human trafficking work. Valentine's Day was rolling up, and just for you guys that don't know Thai culture, Valentine's is like bigger than Christmas out there. It's like a crazy holiday, Hallmark on like steroids. And so oftentimes what happens is that a lot of men go to the red light district trying to find love, and then you have all of these Thai women that are go-go dancers, promoters, bartenders, madams, like all these crazy mix of people in the red light district, and they also are looking for love, but every night they don't really find it. And so I heard about my friend John, who's up in the northern part of Chiang Mai, Thailand, who had a sign, and he just said free hugs, and he would just hug people near the red light district. And it's actually really cool because I came to find out like later that's actually something that Holly helped start up there in Chiang Mai as well. So it's really cool just to see the connection that is there. And so I was like, man, I can do this. Like, let's go do this. And so I grabbed some of my closest friends that were there in Thailand, and we started this event where we started handing out flowers to women. And it was really crazy because they're used to men coming up to them, trying to buy them a drink, get them drunk, grabbing their butt with the music and the lights going on, and paying to take them back to their hotel. And so now we're going in with a whole different mode of operation where we give them a flower and we tell them in Thai it's like Prajau Rakun, which is like God loves you. And so we start these conversations of where we treat them how you would want your sister or your daughter or your mom treated, which is just with dignity and just with love and not trying to just consume and just get whatever you can out of them and then throw them away, which is pretty much what happens every night. It's cool just seeing how you can take something as so simple as a flower and give it to someone, and that just freezes time for a second, really. And they forget about the drunken stupor that's around them, and they're able to just be like, whoa, someone actually notices me. They're not trying to abuse me right now. They almost always say, oh, I can't afford it. And we're like, no, check free na ka, which means it's free for you.
One of my very favorite moments actually happened at an office supply store on the way to Operation Valentine's Day. And I scooped up all of the little pink heart Post-it notes, which are surprisingly hard to find. And the woman who was ringing me up is like, you know, there's a lot of Post-it notes. So she's like, what are you gonna do with all these Post-it notes? And I'm like, oh, I'm doing a project with my friends. And she was like, what kind of project? And so I told her, and she just kind of started tearing up, and she's like, are you the person that puts the Post-it notes downtown in Santa Rosa? And I was like, yes. And she started crying, and she said, a few years ago, I was walking around downtown and I was by myself, and I felt so lonely, and I felt like not a single person in the world could see me or cared that I was lonely. And right as I was like in that dark place, I looked over and saw this little pink Post-it note, and I picked it up and I read it, and it touched me so deeply. And then she said the following year, she went back to the same place to see if there were more notes, and there were. And that just kind of melted me. And here's this like cashier who's like crying and just feeling seen and feeling loved. And that just made my heart feel so full. And I was so much more committed, because part of the fun of this is you kind of do it in the dark. Sometimes we talk to people, but often we're just putting little notes up and just praying over them and like, okay, whoever gets this note, you are so loved. And like stopping in that moment and getting to see that and hear that was so beautiful.
Don't ever underestimate the moment that you can invest in someone, even no matter how brief it is.
This has really inspired me to do something selfless for someone else on every holiday.
I love the idea of going out on this day that can sometimes make people feel very lonely and sad. To go out and share practical love and hope.
I think that the beauty in Operation Valentine's is that we get to find our unique ways, whether it's handing out flowers, handing out little letters or cards or candies. It's really just showing people that they're seen, that they're wanted. And I think that's how we fight hatred, and we fight darkness, and we fight loneliness and despair and helplessness. We fight it with love. We fight it with intentionally choosing to let people know that they're wanted and they're chosen and they're seen. So I would really encourage people to find their unique ways of letting people know that they're seen and they're loved.
One of my favorite things that has ever been written on a little pink Post-it note is a quote from actually a children's book that I love. And I would want to tell somebody, you are loved with a never stopping, never giving up, unbreaking, always and forever love. And I want everyone to know that.